Hey all, this is David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be sharing a technique, multiple endpoints. So when you're writing out your campaign, you've got your beginning, your middle, and your end all set up, and you figure it'll take you. Mine are only a year, 6 months. I like short campaigns, but if this technique will become more important if you're running longer than that. So if you're like, okay, we're going to have 5 years of gaming out of this, or 2 years, or 3 years, or something like that. I've heard of people having even longer campaigns, 20 years, 30 years. I've been playing this one campaign. But what you want to do is, and this even can apply to shorter games, is build in some end points, places you could end and still have it be good. So I was actually talking to my brother about this, and he's planning out his new campaign, and he figures it'll run for 5 years. He likes long campaigns. He figures it'll run for like 5 years, and I said, okay, well, what are you going to do if you have to end it after year 1? And he said, oh, I don't know. I said, well, you got to plan in these multiple endpoints. And I told him about it, and he said, oh, that's a great idea. And I talked to him, this was a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to him yesterday, and he said, I got my endpoints just in case. I feel so much better. I feel like I have a security blanket, a safety net. So he really enjoyed the idea, so I thought I'd make a video. And it's a really simple idea, too. It's just what it sounds like. Have some endpoints, some blow-off points. So if I have to end it after, of 1 year, what can I do? I'll give you some examples. The first one is just where I stole the idea from. Excellent television program, Babylon 5. And the writer, Michael J., whichever it is, Straczynski? How do you pronounce that? Help me out. J. Michael Straczynski? He's the main writer for Babylon 5, and his plan was always, it's going to be 5 seasons. It's going to run for 5 years. We're going to tell this story, beginning, middle, end, over the course of 5 years. So it's all built around this. So if you don't plan blow-off points and you end after season 1, if you get canceled, you're fucked. If you get canceled in season 2, you're equally fucked. You have a bigger bank account, but you'll still be fucked creatively, And this is what people worry about for George R.R. Martin if he has a heart attack after book 6, which has still not come out yet. 3 years after he published book 5, he still hasn't come out with it. If he dies, he has not written each episode to end in a nice package. So that's what people worry about with him. If he knew he was going to die, maybe he could wrap it, but probably not. But J. Michael Straczynski wrote in 5 endings. He said, if we get canceled season 1, this will be the ending. If we get canceled season 2, this will be the ending. And right down the line. And in season 4, they got canceled. And he said, all right, no problem. I'm going to do my blow-off. And he condensed season 5 into 4 or 5 episodes. And then he kept most of what he had, but he condensed it a little bit so that he got it all wrapped up, done at season 4. Of course, they got renewed for a 5th season, and he had to write it on the fly. But he had his blow-off points, and that's what you should have in your game. Say to yourself, if it ends in Act 1, what's the most satisfying ending? If it ends in Season 2 or Act 2, or however you break yours down, what's the ending going to be? If the players hate each other and the game's falling apart, how can I still end it without a cliffhanger? Because I hate cliffhangers so much. They're like my biggest pet peeve. If there's not an ending, like you have to say the end, then I'm happy. Up until that point, I'm just worried that there's not going to be an ending. So I really need closure and catharsis on a storyline and a campaign and a character. So I'll bring up my main example, the one I have the most details on, is my last campaign, or 2 campaigns ago. It's Legends of the Seven Sands. And there were going to be like, I think 3 battles. There's the Battle of Tortuga, the Battle of Piscia, and the Battle of Speria. And right from day 1, I knew this. I didn't know what side the players were going to be on. I didn't know all the factions, which side they were going to be on, because the players turned some of them. You know, I'm trying to remember who exactly they did turn, but I know that the Wizards Guild and the Thieves Guild changed sides. The Assassins Guild, rather. They changed sides before the first battle even happened. So the players had big input over who was there, but these battles were basically unavoidable. But in chronological order. So they were my season finales, and they were my potential blow-off points. So the first act, you introduce everyone, and then introduce this main conflict, the Civil War storyline, and you have the first battle, right? And just in case that was going to be the end, I had my end game. It's like, well, you know, if the players aren't getting along, if we're burned out of the setting, if the rule set isn't working, we can end it there, and it'll still be pretty satisfying. We can kill off that bad guy. It'll be okay. You know, hopefully we can move on to Act 2. And we did. We did the battle. The players sided with the Empire, and they switched the Thieves Guild to their side, and they switched the Wizards Guild to their side. And the battle was a draw, though, but I didn't know who would win or who would lose, and it was pretty much a draw, as it turned out. But that was because of tactical decisions the players made. And so that battle was done with. Now Act 2. We've got our cast. We know who all the power players are now. So now we're going to add depth. We're going to reveal things you didn't know. Like, did you know that the rebels are you know, not as evil as they seem to be? The Empire is portraying them as these traitorous pirates. You know, they're cutthroats. They don't care about anyone. They don't take prisoners. They're thieves and murderers and rapists. And you know, they're the scum of the earth. And they're trying to overthrow the rightful government, the government that takes care of the people. And you know, whatever they install, whatever the pirates install as their government, will be horrible and corrupt, evil. So the players have bought into this. But now in Season 2, in Act 2, we start to find out that the Empire is not as good as they say they are, and the pirates are not anywhere close to as evil as the Empire says that they are. So we find out that the pirates are much more sympathetic than we thought, and the Empire is slightly corrupt. So it really added a lot of depth and conflict, and you know, some characters had regrets and reservations, and one of the characters actually switched, and you know, James's character joined the pirates, and he said, "We are evil. I didn't realize this, but the pirates are right. We're evil, you know, and I'm going to join the pirates, and you should all come with me." And the rest of the party said, "No, the pirates are evil." And then Mike went to kill. Not Mike Lopez, Mike Chartrand went to kill James, and Josh like tackled him and stopped him, and James escaped. So James took over another character instead. A new character came in, but his old character was now an enemy of the state, a bad guy for standing up for what he believed in. It made it so interesting. And we also revealed some one or two new factions, maybe. The Desert Elves, the Eladrin, they were a new faction. So we had at least one new faction, and they were the pirates' secret allies. And we found out that the Empire had been trying to genocide these Desert Elves for decades. And they officially they killed them off 100 years ago, but they've been secretly trying to hunt them down and genocide them and finish off the survivors ever since. So the Desert Elves are so sympathetic. They're running, they're hiding, they're fighting for their lives and their families, and the government is making them out to be these monstrous wraiths who live in the desert. And it's when we actually meet them, that's not true. They seem like nice enough people. They're not completely good, but they certainly don't seem evil at all. They're just guys. So we get all these questions raised in Act 2, and it's all building towards a second big battle when the pirates are going to finally try to take over some territory. The first battle was just their secret base getting stomped out, which of course wasn't successful. The base continued. It was still alive. You see the base is a giant tortoise with a city on its back. So it managed to get away, but now the Empire is aware that it exists. This is why they can never find the rebel base. But unfortunately, so this is Act 2. We've got new revelations building to a second battle. Now my plan was the second battle was going to bring it back, and it was going to kind of reveal that the pirates had some help. There's evil cult. They didn't seem evil. They weren't. In fact, the people weren't evil. But it so happened that the deity they were worshiping was somewhat evil, at least to human life. So they were going to summon like an avatar of their god during the battle, and it was going to win the battle for them, Deus Ex Machina style. So this battle was in the bag. It's just the casualties had to be accounted for, which can make a big difference later on in the third battle. But we're building up to this, and then the third act was supposed to be revealing that the pirates are kind of evil. A few of them are. Some of them are starting to realize and question this. And the Empire, though, was going to get even more evil because they knew that their opponents actually were evil. Whereas before they were just persecuting them for very little reason. Now they were really going to persecute them. So everyone was going to get more evil in the third act. But the second act definitely called into question the assumptions, the black and white assumptions of the first act. So we never got to do the third act, though. James ended up leaving the group because he had some personal problems with other players, and I was having some personal problems with other players. Josh and myself and James, we both have problems with Mike Chartrand, and Josh and Rick were having personal problems with each other, and I was also having problems with Tyson, to just his role playing, and mainly with Aaron. Though I love Aaron as a person, his role playing at the time was burning me out. It was burning me out really bad, and so too with Tyson. His role playing is also burning me out. It was causing a lot of stress. And then there were a lot of problems with the group. The game was great. I was enjoying it. Tyson was not contributing a lot. Aaron was contributing, but he was doing his chaotic neutral, hurling fireballs at random into the marketplace, and turning on the group for no reason, and so his actions were determined at random, but his role playing of those actions was not terrible. And then Rick and Josh had personal problems, which neither one of their role playing games suffered that much. But James left because of Mike Chartrand and because of Aaron. Just Aaron and James don't get along. There were problems. Let's sum it up. There were personal problems that were causing the game to end. And I said to myself, well, the game is clearly ending. I can't put up with Aaron anymore. Rick and Josh are going to fight each other. James has already left. The game is ending. And I said, well, let's make this second battle the end. We'll just forget the Avatar of the Dark God. We don't have time for that shit. Let's dump that idea, and we'll have this be the final battle, and we'll have this big confrontation with the head cultist, and we'll end it right here. And I told everybody this too. I was like, okay, guys, we're coming up on a big battle. They knew this. Their characters pretty much knew this. I said, this will be the final battle. This will be the finale of the campaign. So if there's anything else you wanted to do with your characters, you have like 5 sessions to do it. Or 10 sessions, or wherever it was. So they had, the warning, and so they said, let's hunker down and let's get some catharsis out of this. Let's get a good ending, even if we had problems. We can tolerate each other for 5 sessions. And we got there. We got through. We did the big battle. We did the big ending. We got the revelations we had time for. And it was awesome. It was an amazing ending to the campaign. It felt like it had been all building to this one moment, and if the ending was big enough that it all made it worthwhile. The final battle and the final betrayal, and the other final betrayal. Basically, the NPC betrayed Josh, and then Rick betrayed Josh. The NPC, it made sense, and it may or may not have made sense for Rick to betray Josh, which is part of the reason why Josh was so angry with Rick. Because Rick's they had problems. But anyway, we did get the catharsis, and we said the end. Everyone narrated the epilogue of what happened to their character after. So the whole campaign is wrapped up in this nice, neat little package. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't built in this end point, right? If I'd just been planning on it slowly building up and then eventually hitting that big, the real ending that I wanted, we would have needed another like 20 sessions. And, they could tolerate each other for like 5 sessions, but it wasn't going to happen for another 20 or 30 sessions. So, I'm really glad I had that built in, because I ended up needing it. And while it is kind of disappointing that I didn't get to see that real ending, the fact that we had a real ending and it felt like logical, and it wasn't just it just turned off in mid series. The fact that we built up to it, we did it right, we killed the bad guy, and we Mike Chartrand ended up taking over the government and becoming the Pharaoh, and Rick switched sides and ended up escaping. So Rick had no catharsis, which again pissed Josh off. But Josh actually had catharsis on his character. So his story ended, that's the end. And Aaron's character retired, and Raven took over the temple and the Thieves Guild secretly, and I think her character was possibly having an affair with Mike Chartrand's character, and Tyson, his character retired. They all got an ending. They all got to say this is what happened after the fact. I took over the temple and the Thieves Guild, and I took over the whole city, and Josh wandered off into the desert, sad about the way that the war had ruined his life, which was a great ending for his character. And Rick got the ending that he wanted, which no one else might have enjoyed, but he must have enjoyed because he is the one who did it. If you don't enjoy what you do, why are you there? So he must have enjoyed it, even if nobody else did. And that was it. And I could look back, and it has a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. And it was supposed to have, a beginning, and this was supposed to be the middle, and then we were going to have an even bigger end. But we didn't have time for it, as it turned out. So that's what you should do in your campaign. Say to yourself, okay, this is the beginning, the middle, the end. This is how long it's going to take. But just in case, where could I end it? And usually those tipping points are fairly obvious. I'm planning a campaign now that's going to have 4 acts. So I'm planning each act could be the end point. It's just have to be a little logical with it, and it's fine. So we're going to have like an exploratory act. We're going to have a kind of like a mission-based act. And then we're going to have a kind of a combat-focused act and a really, really, really heavy combat-focused act with mission-based. Like that last act's going to be ridiculously crazy and awesome. But at any point, I'm planning it ahead. I could end it. So the first act, the big, the big reveal at the end of that act, that could be the end. Or the second act, the big reveal at that point, that could be the end. Actually, the first act is a big battle. Big battle. It's a small skirmish, but it'll be an important fight, and bigger than the other fights in the first act. So that fight could be the end. Or the second act has a big reveal, and that could be the end. The third act is going to have another big reveal, so that could be the end. And then, of course, the fourth act will be the actual end. But if we don't have time, if we can't make it, if somebody, whatever happens, there should be a contingency. I've planned it in advance, and you should plan it in advance as well. So I thought I'd just share that. So I'd love to hear in the comments below if you've seen a campaign end prematurely and there was no ending and it was sad, or if you've seen a campaign that was clearly ended prematurely, but you saved an ending, you got an ending out of it, even though it was a little welded on and it felt maybe a little forced, but you still had an ending. Or if you always do this and it has paid off, let me know. If you never do this and you never plan ahead and you have no ending, I could never game with you. You can leave a comment too. I don't know what about, but that is a style I do not enjoy running or playing. So this video probably did not apply to you at all if you're an improv guy. And I might do a video in the future on improv. It'll just be too hard for me to not just hate on it the whole time. So I probably won't do it because it'll just be a hate-filled rampage on my part. But I'm going to sign out now. I hope that the ramble was somewhat educational or interesting. I know there wasn't a lot to say, but I hope that my example was useful to you. So everybody, do have yourself a good day, though, in YouTube land. Cheers.